guys, welcome back to Room 237, and this should be an interesting review. I don't know how I'm going to do this with all the new guidelines of appropriate and inappropriate. Not sure how I'm going to talk about this, but figures right after I picked this up. By 1981's Cannibal Ferox, which is a movie I've always wanted to see, never got around to picking up until last week. Now, I've already reviewed 1980's Cannibal Holocaust, and I'd probably still say I like that more than this, but I still enjoyed this film, and like Cannibal Holocaust, this is the Grindhouse releasing, so it comes with, you know, really nice packaging, lots of interviews and trailers, and of course my favorite thing about Grindhouse releasing always comes with a poster. This is the American poster where it was released as Make Them Die Slowly. In Australia it was released as a woman from Deep River. Of course the Italian cannibal exploitation subgenre is believed to be started by Lamberto Lenzi himself in 1972 when he did Man from Deep River. There was another film that came out around the same time that kind of also gets quoted as the first one, which was Ruggero Deodato's Last Cannibal World, or Jungle Holocaust, which came out in 77. I think he often said he created the genre, but Lenzi did Man from Deep River in 72, and that's widely considered the first cannibal exploitation film, which of course Deodato would go on to do Cannibal Holocaust, and then Lenzi would go on to do Ferox. And I guess the last cannibal film was Antonio Climati's Natura Contro, which was in 88. Of course, Eli Roth did Green Inferno, which isn't really a remake of Cannibal Holocaust like it often gets called. It's more so of an homage and tribute to the entire genre. I'd probably say it has more in common with Ferox than it does Holocaust. Especially the ending, which the ending and the surviving character's choice at the end of that film makes more sense than in this film. But anyway, I'm glad I finally saw it. It is similar, which it did say, you know, banned in 31 countries. I think that was revealed to be kind of a bogus statement that they used for marketing. I don't think it's as controversial or quite as notorious as Cannibal Holocaust. But it does have a lot of the similar. It does have genuine animal cruelty and deaths. Although I would say more of the animal stuff is easier to watch or quicker in this. It's more examples of, you know, nature, natural cruelty, like animals killing each other. Like one scene, I don't know what those animals are called. They look like little pigs with like short floppy noses, like really small animals. An anaconda getting a hold of one of those. It does have a tortoise scene, not near as graphic as in Holocaust. The story is different though, and the cast, you have I keep forgetting his name. What is his name? I think he went by a different name in this. He was casted as John Morgan in this film, but Giovanni Lombardo Radici, if I pronounce that last name right. He was Ricky in House on the Edge of the Park. He was in City of the Living Dead, Stage Fright. Been in a lot of Italian films. This is definitely his more sinister role. You know, that's actually him right there. He kind of reminds me of like a young Italian Cary Elwes. I'm not really sure why. But also, Lorraine DeSalle plays Gloria. She's our female lead. She was also in House on the Edge of the Park. She was the one that Giovanni Lombardo. She's the one that actually, you know, helped him in that movie. She did fine in this film. She's also worked with Joe D'Amato, Fernando Diodato. I know I've seen her in more stuff. Lots of exploitation films. But anyway, the story is Lorraine DeSalle and her brother Rudy, who is played by Danilo Mattei, who was cast as Brian Redford. All these actors are also uncredited as doing their dubbed voices for whatever reason. But she's an anthropologist, and they go out to the Amazon to prove the lifelong myth of cannibalism, that cannibalism is a myth. Along the way, they come across these two other guys, Joe and Mike. Joe is played by Walter Lucchini, credited as Walter Lloyd. He did not do his own voice. And does Joe, and Giovanni Lombardo is Mike. Which, actually, none of these actors did their own voices. Okay, that's why Giovanni Lombardo sounded so different. None of these actors did their own English dubbing, and they all went uncredited. They meet up with them. Joe is wounded, and come to find out, they're there for different reasons. Joe and Mike are actually sort of being hunted by the Amazon people. And when they're found, the Amazon tribe thinks that they're all together. And Mike is definitely it's kind of like Cannibal Holocaust, where it's, okay, the cruelty of the white man, or cruelty of Americans on these unsuspecting cannibalistic tribes, and they get their revenge on them in a big way. We're told through exposition later on that Joe and Mike went there in search of emeralds and cocaine, and Mike brutally tortured and killed their guide in front of the whole tribe, and Mike kidnapped a native girl to lead them out of the jungle. So basically so like they were there to get cocaine and emeralds. The tribe trusted them, and Mike, you know, broke the trust very violently. And so then when they're all caught. You know, Mike is sort of made a spectacle out of. Like this scene, he's actually castrated. It shows enough of it, and of course, then the guy that does it eats it. There's another part where, because the tagline, I don't know if I can say it, they R and M'd his sister while he watched helplessly. Now it's his turn to make them die slowly. That's a very short part in the story, because someone else that's with Rudy and Gloria is this girl named Pat, who's played by Zora Korova. She hooks up with Mike, and they're doing coke together. Like, they actually hook up. They start doing cocaine together. And he convinces her to try to get it on with a native girl. So they grab this native girl. He attempts to make her do stuff to her while they beat her brother and make her sit there and watch. But eventually, you know, Pat can't do it, so then Mike just kills the native girl, and Pat lets the brother run free. So when they're all captured, it's sort of made like the brother is allowing this to happen by not saying that she actually kind of helped. Also, in America, there's some stuff going on with these mobsters who are looking for Mike because he stole money. There's this one girl he was staying with for a while. The cops are talking to her. The mob is talking to her, looking for him. And then they try to fly out to the Amazon to find him. And that's basically the story. We sort of see the Amazonian tribe taking these four characters sort of from place to place, their various escape attempts, and then the authorities in America looking for Mike, and eventually making it to the Amazon. And Mike is he's a character that, like Cannibal Holocaust, it's very hard to sympathize with him because he's such a terrible person. Like, after he gets castrated and the guy eats it, they put something on it so he doesn't bleed out. He seems fine throughout most of the rest of the movie. He's able to run away and he doesn't seem to be in pain. He does escape eventually, and you know, he kills one guy, takes his machete. I think he kills a couple other ones. There's even this pit that Gloria and Pat are put in. He cuts the rope so that they can't get out. But eventually he's caught up too, and they cut his hand off. His death is actually pretty cool. They put him under this thing so that on the tabletop it's like just the top of his head. And take a machete, they slice it off, eat some of his brains. The girl, Pat, gets hooks put through her breasts and she's hung up. And then she dies. Joe is killed early on. He dies of his wounds shortly after the exposition of him and Mike. Rudy is, I believe, killed because he eventually escapes. Because while Mike is being castrated, they're put in like this, they're in like water that's so deep, in like these bamboo cages, and there's leeches. But eventually he does make a run for it, and he gets his leg stuck on something, and he tries to hide in water while the tribe passes. And I thought this was a nice touch because I've seen a few of these Amazon movies. I've never actually seen anything done with it. But the piranha, and of course in piranha movies, like the American piranha films, they're made out to be like, you go in the water with piranha, they're gonna attack you. Now they have to smell blood. His leg is bleeding, and of course piranhas start going after him. So then they get a hold of him again, bring him back. They shoot him with a dart, and I think that kills him. I think it's a poison dart. I know I'm kind of all over the place with this, but this sort of is one of those movies where it is more about the shocking content. You know, it's an exploitation film. The music, it isn't as good or memorable as Cannibal Holocaust. You know, that has that great Ritz Ortolani score. The music on this was done by Roberto Donati and Fiamma Maglione. It still is a good score. Like some drum beats in the back. I really like it. I'm just not as memorable as the Cannibal Holocaust score. Yeah, there is a tortoise scene, not near as graphic as Cannibal Holocaust, where they cut the head and one of the limbs off. They cut the shell open. They do kill an alligator for food. There is a cheetah that gets a hold of a monkey. It's an actual monkey, like one with a tail. But it's mostly animals doing what they do to each other. But it is all genuine, like in Cannibal Holocaust. Holocaust is more mean-spirited, I would say, in both the animal cruelty scenes and the story, as like with the filmmakers and their relationship with the Amazonian people. That whole film is way more mean-spirited, I would say, than this. Here, it's mostly Mike. Gloria and Rudy do have good intentions. Eventually, the brother of the sister who was killed by Mike, when it's just Gloria that's left, he does take her away and try to lead her to safety. But he falls victim to, I believe, one of their own booby traps, which we've seen happen before. Earlier in the film, there's a part where they walk upon a couple Amazonians that was killed with this huge mud ball with spikes on it that kind of acts like a wrecking ball. You know, there's these trip wires everywhere. It's a spring-loaded thing with spikes. He falls victim to that. Gloria is left. And eventually she's found by the people that were looking for Mike. 3 months later, she's getting her doctorate in anthropology. And she wrote a book called Cannibalism, End of a Myth, where she covers it all up, which I don't understand. I know in Green Inferno, what's her name? Loretta Izzo, or whatever. The lead girl in Green Inferno lies and says that the tribe was very hospitable and helpful, so that the deaths of her friends and the cause they were going for isn't in vain. So I kind of get that. Here, I don't really understand why she covered it all up. Eventually, because some of the tribe's people, when they tell the people looking for Mike that their canoe capsized and was eaten by crocodiles. And that's the story that she goes with. I guess it's because she believed, even before, that cannibalism was a myth. Maybe it's her way of just blocking it out. I don't really know, but yeah, she does cover it up. It's definitely not as disturbing or graphic as Cannibal Holocaust. It has its moments. I mean, the castration scene is probably the biggest out of the whole film. It's more straightforward than Cannibal Holocaust, because that has, you know, some, like, the search team looking for the documentary team. They find the reels, then we watch the reels, and it's all found footage. This is more of a straightforward story. I will give it credit for that. I definitely enjoyed it. It certainly wasn't disappointing in any way. It did deliver on its shocking content, its disturbing content. I am glad that the animal cruelty wasn't as bad as Cannibal Holocaust. But, yeah, this is definitely one to check out if you're an exploitation fan, or like the Italian cannibal film, if you're a fan of those. If not, even if you, or just like shocking content, it's worth checking out. It's an older film, yeah, 1981, but I would say of this genre, it's up there with Cannibal Holocaust, but I think that's the absolute peak as far as the best cannibal film, the most shocking out of all of them. But if you're gonna get it, there's also a Blu-ray of the of Grindhouse release, which I'm glad I got the Grindhouse release. They always take wonderful care of their, you know, the quality of the movies, the special features. You always get an awesome poster. I've got like a whole column of posters I got from Grindhouse releases. But yeah, I'm glad I finally saw Cannibal Ferox. I enjoyed it quite a bit. But anyway, thank you for watching.